Hello. Thank you for coming to the episode number 14 of the Senior Spotlight with Concierge Care Advisors. I'm Mary Cordova. I am one of the co-founders of Concierge Care Advisors. I'm here with two wonderful doctors from our Senior Advisory Board, Dr. Ferris and Dr. Moraes. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And happy 2025.
Yes, happy 2025.
We're here to talk about physical fitness, exercise, and staying healthy at any age. And just really want to open up the floor to suggestions on how to keep seniors, not keep them active, but keep them active if they're active, but also get people to be more active. And just really want to start a conversation on the benefits of being physical. We talked a little bit about this on episode 13, but just really want to talk about balance. You talked a little bit about boxing and the mobility, keeping people, reducing falls, better mentality of your mental state, you're making more better decisions, and just all of that, and how our health looks at the holistic approach of a senior. So Dr. Moraes, I'll start with you. And just what are some key benefits of physical fitness for seniors to improve their mobility, of what you would say to all seniors? And we know that all seniors are different. We talked about that.
Yes.
So
for me, I would say the big benefits of exercise that I try to promote is graceful aging. And what does that mean? Mm-hmm. That means less falls, better quality of life, less hospitalizations. And ultimately, I find that my patients personally that exercise have a tendency to have shorter times in rehabilitation facilities, and they really decrease their risks or the time that they spend in a nursing home towards end of life. So, do you want to control your life, or do you want somebody to control your life at towards the end of life?
Right.
And I think that's the important difference that I see.
Nice. Empowers people to be part of the process.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wish every high school senior and every college senior had to spend a month in a nursing home.
Oh.
It would so change people's understanding and knowledge of what activities and what investing a little bit of energy into your own personal health care does for you when you're planning to have a great time in life.
Absolutely.
You don't want to save all that money and all of a sudden not have the capabilities to travel or to spend it in whatever form or fashion you'd like. So.
And you mentioned college. I think there's a lot of elementary schools that don't have physical education anymore. They don't go out to recess.
Gone.
So that is what we need to bring back, in my personal opinion. Because I think if people are introduced to being active when they're young, I come from a huge sports family, and 10 brothers and sisters. We're all 1 year apart, so we had 2 basketball teams. We were very active. But a lot of people, are not introduced to sports or activity. Maybe it wasn't in their family. But if you don't have it in elementary, when are you exposed to it, So, and some of the sports are going away, especially in Washington. I don't know about California with budgets. But there's a lot of schools that aren't, having basketball or volleyball or football due to funding. So I think a lot of activities are cut out of our children. And so it's not a part of the process of growing up and staying active.
Yeah, and that should only be a portion of it, because it should be our responsibilities as parents to guide our kids.
Right.
And yes, we're all busy, and yes, there's never time for it. But if you don't do it, then you're going to fall under the the care of the medical system without being in control. And who wants that?
Absolutely.
It's not a pretty future.
No. You talk about chronic disease a lot, and how does exercise impact chronic disease in your opinion?
Makes it much easier. I think the impact of exercising, and I'll use that term compared to some of our prior discussions of my mantra of staying physically active. I think exercise is a great medicine. I think it's probably one of the best medicines we have. And it doesn't need a prescription. That said, it was prescribed, I think, from a social perspective decades ago in the mid 20th century with the presidential fitness awards
Right.
as a way to motivate,
yeah.
at a macro social level, and that's suffered a bit for sure. And I think there's definitely some consequences for that. But from an aging perspective, I mean, in the world of vascular surgery, the data is clear over and over again that patients who have claudication means leg pain when you walk, and that's due to a restriction in the blood flow in the arteries to the leg due to the most common cause of our mortality, which is atherosclerosis. Gruel that is hard, that is the hardening of the arteries, the plaque. So that's what causes a heart attack. You plug up the pipes, the arteries to the heart. It's a heart attack or death. To the brain, it's a stroke. And in the legs, it starts with claudication, where you feel the lack of blood flow. I've never felt claudication because I don't have it, but it's described as you're going from aerobic metabolism to lactic acid metabolism, and it limits how you walk. And the therapy for it is exercise. Now, there's a lot of other therapies that have to go with treating the disease,
Sure.
the hardening of the arteries, but in terms of dealing with the symptoms, it's exercise, and it's simply a walking program, and it's incredibly unsuccessful.
It really is unsuccessful.
It's incredibly unsuccessful.
Really too bad.
Now, if you get somebody in a structured program where they're put into an environment where they have to, and that's inclusive of the selection bias, that is, they want to be there. So maybe they have some native motivation versus my vision of a really motivating nurse with a clipboard and ideally a whistle to get you moving.
Right.
But that may be motivating. But the problem with it is that, as I've talked about in some of our other podcasts, is when they get into the rest of the world, they're fighting the current, right? They're trying to swim upstream.
Yeah.
And that's a real challenge, and unfortunately it doesn't work out very well. But that's a different problem. But in terms of its impact on every chronic ailment that comes with aging. It can affect your arthritis. It can affect your cognition.
Diabetes,
it can affect your blood pressure. It can affect your blood sugar. It can affect everything. It can affect your mood. In fact, I was looking at one of our medical rags online that was noting how exercise is as potent as an antidepressant. And it's known it's as potent, if not more potent, than for your blood pressure. So why isn't it? Well, I think we've again got a lot of societal, what I like to call societal peer pressure. That's a headwind.
Yeah.
But its impact is incredibly profound. What I've liked to do, because I have to really sit with these patients and make everybody mad because Dr. Ferris is running late and so on and so forth. But it really matters in terms of getting them, and we can talk about where we're at, I think, in terms of exercise. That's maybe a different conversation, but getting them to start thinking about how to be active and what that impact will be, to get them to want to do it, makes a huge difference. I think makes the difference.
Yes. The doctor wanting you to do it for your health isn't going to cut it. You got to jump on board and buy in. And Dr. Moraes, what safety precautions would you say to someone that's just getting into being a little bit more active than they were last week? It's a new year. Good time to start being more active. What would you say to get them motivated, but also being cautious of what they might be able to do?
Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I can answer that.
I think you just have to understand your limitations and what your risks are. I think falling is one of the biggest issues that I see. So, engaging in a program that's not beyond your initial capabilities.
Yeah.
Physicians love pickleball because we make so much money off of it because people go out there and play who don't
Twist
know.
an ankle or a wrist or
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
They'll fall, they injure themselves, they sprain a
Oh.
muscle, they
Yeah.
hurt their foot.
Maybe
And
not the place to start.
not
Yeah.
the place to start.
Gotcha.
If you're gonna weight lift, start slow. If you don't have a mobility, start with chair exercises.
Yeah.
Get a physical therapist involved. It's amazing how many exercises you can do without being on your feet.
Sit and be fit, right?
Sit, be fit, lay and be fit. There's a lot of things that you can do that will lead to a better place. I think
Go
in my
for a
world,
walk.
Yeah,
in my
go for a
world,
walk.
falling is probably the thing that just
Scares.
debilitates people to the
Absolutely.
hilt. Especially historically. Some of this data may have been from men and women. You might know a little bit better, but historically, when women fell and broke a hip, the mortality rate was really high. That's improved. But I think that's improved partially from modern medicine and how we
Right,
treat
right.
fractures compared to the past. But
It's still very high.
it's still very high.
And the quality of life after.
Yeah. And the debility is that if you traumatically break a hip or a leg bone, the amount of time that you're down, you lose so much muscle mass as you
Yes,
age.
yes.
So a 20-year-old with a femur fracture is one thing, and a 70-year-old with a femur fracture is a different recovery process. The 20-year-old will get up and walk. The 80-year-old very probably may, in many instances, not recover to the point of walking again.
And
So
90-year-old might not even go in for surgery, right?
in some instances, we just leave it alone and let
Right.
it heal by itself, depending on the person's mobility status. But there's a decline to recovery as we age, so
Right.
we have to be more cautious.
But I would suggest kind of taking a big step back and looking at almost a kind of some social assumptions and vibes, right? As you get older, I think there was a stereotype, and hopefully it's going, of you work, you retire, you enjoy, you work towards retirement to enjoy it, and there's this fairy tale vision of sitting in the rocking chair with your loved one, holding hands, so on and so forth. That doesn't work.
No.
Right? That doesn't work. You've got to stay active, or if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So I think that's part of it. I think part of the problem with using the term exercise is that you start thinking of whatever stereotype is in your head of that elite athlete.
Exactly.
Right, whether it's the runner, so on and so forth, or the weightlifter, so on and so forth. And again, they're not real, and they're not realistic. I think that also historically we came from a standpoint of several decades of rampant mortality from heart disease, cardiovascular diseases, with so much smoking that's really gone by the wayside in the last 2 or 3 decades, and finally realizing that decline. But I can't help but not bring up with my patients the book of that was written by Jim Fixx in the 70s called Running. And in his family, there was a genetic condition affecting mostly the men, and they're all dying young of cardiac disease. All he did was run. He got 10 years compared to the rest of his family.
Wow.
And he still smoked. And he still smoked. But I also think that tackling as successfully as we have the heart attack epidemic, we've always think about the heart, and I think again we have social stereotypes of what that is, treadmill or this and that, and we've neglected the other things that affect the mind, the body. So I always like to think of it as the pillars of your strength, your cardiac, and your mind. And so I don't think an exercise matters as much as it's, you're going to no pain, no gain, or any of that kind of stuff. It's just go for a walk.
Right. Do
Right.
something.
And we can nerd out all we want about, and I like to nerd out about it, because I think it's really interesting of the different different zones of exercise or the different perceived exertion, which is really what matters. Do you go out for a walk or you go do a thing and do you feel good? Do you feel a little bit better? That's great. If the answer is yes, that's a success.
Right.
Because you've done something that is more than being sedentary, and it's going to have a benefit that pays off. And then you can build up to it based on what you can do, whether it's from an overall fitness or health standpoint, or whether you have osteoporosis or brittle bones or balance problems or so on and so forth. You can gauge it up. You don't have to strive to be Schwarzenegger,
right?
Right.
Everyone's going to be unique,
or whoever.
What?
Yeah, whoever it is. I mean, you can if you want to.
This whole time.
You can if you want to. But I mean, I think in terms of what will motivate people, because I think that for some is I can never do that, and they're not going to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And
feeling defeated before you get started.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a sense of defeat. And if you go, no, you be you, and if you feel better doing blank, then do it.
It might be walking to the mailbox to get the mail.
Right.
For 30 minutes, though.
Yeah.
Right. Over and over.
Yeah.
but repeat it,
start,
and then you can build on it.
Yeah.
Then you can build upon it. And so I don't think it matters as much as go square dancing.
Right. Do something.
Just do it.
Yeah. Just do it.
Whatever it may be,
you're going to be fine. Square dancing is a great one.
So that's our new motto: is just do it. Something more than you did.
I think that's been taken.
That's been taken.
I think that's taken.
Just square dance.
Just square dance.
Square dance, yeah.
Oh
just
my.
do-si-do.
Well, so if you could give us one takeaway from what we talked about today, from the exercises and brain health and all of that, what would it be for you, Dr. Moraes, and you, Dr. Ferris, on just one of the favorite pieces of advice that you could give a senior? And also I want to share that if you're living at home, senior centers are a great place to get exercise. So look up your senior centers. They can pick you up. They can bring you transportation-wise, but get some exercise, get out there and move, and then I'll leave it to you guys to give a tip.
I'm going to say that you're probably your most important financial asset, and you should invest in yourself through some kind of activity program, because it's the only way that you're going to be able to be present and support your loved ones. Because if you're immobile in bedbound, there's nothing you can do. But if you're vertical and you may not be physically able to do things, but you still have your mental capabilities. And I think one thing that we underappreciate in the USA is the knowledge that the elderly bring and the historical perspective that they bring to life from their experiences.
Yeah. Absolutely. Love that.
Yeah, that's well said. I don't think I can even come close to matching that. And I've often said, from a clinician standpoint, you have to train to age.
Yeah. It's not easy.
And it ain't easy.
No.
Yeah, that's the corollary to the first phrase. It ain't easy.
Did you patent that term yet?
I should.
Yeah.
You better go look it up on the way home.
Trademark.
Trademark. We're doing it right now. So thank you so much for coming today. I think these are invaluable conversations for seniors to become fit, move a little bit more than you did yesterday or last week. And thanks for coming to episode 14 of the Senior Spotlight. And doctors, thank you so much again for your time, and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.